What is up guys, TopTierYugioh here, and today I've got an Adventure Burning Abyss combo guide to show you how to end on boards like Beatrice plus Gyrphon and DPE, or even just Appaloosa Beatrice or Appaloosa DPE and even more, because I believe Burning Abyss is a solid rogue deck right now. But if you want to play this deck, you have to know the combos, and that's what this video is for, so let's go ahead and get into it. And now before jumping into the first combo, if you do want to see the deck list, check out the deck profile linked in the description, or just check it out on my Instagram at TopTierYugioh where I posted the list. But let's go ahead and get into this first combo. Awesome, so moving on to the first combo, we're going to need 3 BAs, and then one of them has to be either a Graff or a Fiendish Rhino Warrior, because we're going to be ending on 3 disruptions, that Beatrice, Gyrphon, DPE board. So let's go ahead and get into it. First, what we're going to do is just start by normal summoning our Graff or Rhino Warrior, special summoning one of the Burning Abyss monsters, and then we link these into a Cherubini. Now, linking away that Graff is going to trigger the effect, and then with that, we're going to special summon a Seer, and make sure you summon Seer to one of Cherubini's link points, because we don't want the Seer to be destroyed when we summon other non-BA monsters. So that's definitely very, very important. From here, you can also, it really is up to you, but you could go ahead and summon your other BA, and then make Dante, or you could do it later. I'll do it later just for the sake of the combo, but the next big thing that we do is activate Cherubini's effect, using that to dump a Water Enchantress to the graveyard. Activate Water Enchantress's graveyard effect by banishing it to search a copy of Rite of Artemisia to the hand. Activate Rite. Rite's going to summon our token. And then it doesn't matter where you put the token, just not blocking the other Cherubini link point. But anywhere else, doesn't really matter. After that, we will also get our Fateful Adventure. Just trying to make space for everything on the screen here, but after getting the Fateful Adventure, we activate that effect, using it to search a copy of Gyrphon Rider to the hand, and then discarding just some other random card that we have. And so we should have BA Gyrphon Rider in hand, special summon the Gyrphon, and then from here, what we're going to do is normal summon our other BA if we hadn't already, and then overlay both of these into Dante. And then after that, we link away. We don't use Dante's effect, by the way, because we don't want to risk milling a DPE fusion material or fusion destiny or anything like that. You just summon Dante and link it away in this case. And then we link that into our copy of Anaconda. This is going to trigger the Seer that was attached to Dante as well as Dante's effect. So good old Dante Seer here. Seer, summon back Dante, Dante add back Seer, or any other Burning Abyss in your graveyard. It doesn't quite necessarily matter, because all we're going to be doing is discarding it to make our Beatrice. And now that we're done special summoning except for DPE, or except for the summoning of DPE, we can go ahead and use Anaconda's effect, using that to send Fusion Destiny to the graveyard. Okay, that's going to resolve because we've got Gyrphon, so even if they try to negate it, we just negate their negation with Gyrphon. And then send our fusion materials to the grave, and that will allow us to get to our DPE. And so just those 3 Burning Abyss monsters gets us to Gyrphon, DPE, and Beatrice for 3 disruptions, and it's very difficult for a lot of decks to play through because you've got an Omni Negate, a Pop, and then Beatrice, which can be, you know, a Farfa Banish or a Snow. It can be either one of those, or if you're playing in a game 2 or 3, it could even be a Token Collector, Netherworld Banshee into Zombie World. There's so much you can do with this board that it just sets you up to really create a tricky situation for your opponent. And if you don't have to use the Beatrice, what else you can do is send a Skarm and then search Tour Guide on your next turn, follow up in OTK. And so this is it for the first combo. Again, this is sort of the bread and butter of this deck. It ends you with multiple disruptions and great follow up between having the Celestial in your graveyard. Plus, when you detach the Dante from the Beatrice to use the effect, you can add back a Seer or a Graff, and then that can get you to any other Burning Abyss in either your deck or your graveyard. So you have access to your entire engine, your entire deck, a Pot of Greed out the graveyard, and then multiple interactions. And so this puts you in a great position to win the game. Again, bread and butter. But let's move on to combo number 2. Moving on to combo number 2, again, we have another 3-card combo to where you need 2 Burning Abyss monsters, and then either Rite of Artemisia or Water Enchantress at the Temple. Either one works, it's just a way to get to your adventure engine. But let's say for the sake of the combo, we're going to use Rite. And so in this version of the combo, all we're going to do is start by special summoning our 2 Burning Abyss monsters, special, link into a Cherubini. And then from here, we go ahead and activate the Rite, because we want to get the Gyrphon out before using Cherubini's effect, just in case our opponent's like holding an Ash or something for the Graff we're going to send. So we'll just activate our Rite, use that to special summon our token. That also will get us to Fateful Adventure. Then from here, activate Fateful Adventure's effect. That's going to search our Gyrphon, discard some random card in hand, special summon the Gyrphon. Again, you don't want to block your Cherubini zones for the most part, but from here we can go ahead and activate Cherubini's effect. Use that to send a copy of Graff to the graveyard, and then Graff will summon out Seer. And now from here, we're actually going to link away our Gyrphon, Seer, and Cherubini into an Appaloosa. And the way this is sequenced, we're always going to be protected from hand traps, always going to have Nib, because we're going to have either the Appaloosa or the Gyrphon up. But we will link these three away for, once again, Appaloosa, going to have 2400 attack. Now, you can activate Seer's effect, and Seer can revive the Cherubini, and you can revive it anywhere. It doesn't have to be under an Appaloosa link point, because it's being summoned from the graveyard, not from the extra deck. So it doesn't really matter where you summon it though. Then we're going to link away the token into a Link Spider. And then we can link away the Cherubini and the Link Spider into Anaconda. Activate Anaconda effect. Send Fusion Destiny. Send our Fusion Materials for DPE. And then end on Appaloosa plus DPE. So that's a super easy combo that ends on 2 massive disruptions. Well, I guess in a way we have 4 disruptions. We have 3 Appaloosa negates plus the DPE, and again, massive follow-up between the Celestial and the loaded graveyard. So a ton of we got a ton of gas here. However, if for some reason you didn't want to summon DPE, we can also use the same starting hand to go into Appaloosa plus Beatrice. So let's go ahead and look at that version of the combo. Alright, so once again, same hand starting off. We've got 2 BAs plus Rite. And we're going to start it the same way as well. Special summon your 2 BAs, and then link both of those into your Cherubini. Then from here, activate Rite. Rite's effect is going to summon out your token, and it's also going to get you to Fateful Adventure. After that, you activate Fateful Adventure's effect, but what you do differently here is you search a copy of Water Enchantress instead of searching for Gyrphon Rider. And so this play will not be protected by Gyrphon, but you are able to at least sequence your plays to protect yourself from like Nib and a few other hand traps. Like you can chain block certain things as well. And so it's a little more vulnerable, but it does leave you with more engine because you're going into Beatrice instead of DPE. And so that can be valuable as well. But what we do from here after searching the Enchantress is you just special summon it. Or what you could do before special summoning it actually is activate Cherubini's effect, dump Graff, use Graff to summon Seer. And now this is your 5th summon. And so if your opponent tries to nib you, at least you'll get Seer's effect. So that's one thing you could do. But now from here, you special summon your Water Enchantress using its own effect because you do have the token on board. Now you overlay both of these for a Dante. And now in this case, because we're not going for DPE, there's nothing stopping you from using Dante's effect. So you could, potentially mill like a Snow, a Scarm, or just any other card that you might want to get into the graveyard. And so let's just go ahead and take a look at this real quick, see how lucky we get. Definitely detach the Water Enchantress, not the Seer, because you want to use Seer later on to revive Dante. But let's take a look at what we mill. Just a random quick shuffle. So Libic, Libic, and Water Enchantress. The Libics do nothing, but this will at least set you up for next turn. And if we had another BA in hand, this could help you extend, but this at least gets you some setup for next turn. Well, I guess you already had Enchantress in the graveyard, but nonetheless, there are good things you can mill here. But now what you do in terms of the combo is you link away the token for a Link Spider, and then now you link away the Link Spider, Cherubini, and the Dante into your copy of Appaloosa. Now in the graveyard, you activate your Dante and your Seer. And I've seen Ghost Bell in a lot of decks recently, so you want to be mindful of that being in the format. And because of that, make sure that you make, but have your Seer be Chainlink 1, Dante Chainlink 2. That way you are chain blocking your Seer's effect, so guaranteeing that you're going to be able to summon back your Dante. That way if they have the Ghost Bell and they decide to Ghost Spell your Dante effect, if you have another BA in hand, you can still discard it to make your Beatrice. But if it all resolves normally, add back whatever BA you want, and then discard that BA for the summon of your Beatrice. So this would end you with Appaloosa Beatrice. And again, this can be useful because it keeps you in your engine versus the DPE play, which kind of takes you out of it. It makes you depend on what you're drawing on the next couple of turns to get back into your engine. Whereas this, you've already got in. So even if you use Beatrice's effect to send like a snow or something, Dante can always add back your Graff, and now Graff can get you to any BA in your deck, and you can keep going next turn like that. Alright, so for this final combo, I'm just going to show you guys what you can do with 2 Burning Abyss monsters. It isn't very often that you just have 2 Burning Abyss monsters, but it does come up in very simplified game states, or if the rest of your hands are like hand traps or other cards, or if you're going second and you like use the droplets to negate your opponent's whole board and all you've got is 2 BAs left. I'm going to just show you some of the plays that you can make, and this is one of them, just being the most basic Beatrice play you can possibly make. So again, all you need is 2 Burning Abyss monsters, one of which being Graff or Seer. And so what you do in this case is just normal summon your Graff or Seer, special summon your other BA, overlay both of these for a Dante, and then summon it in the extra monster zone. Now you want to use your Dante's effect. Dante will mill 3, and there's a lot of good cards you can mill here that will, okay, this kind of stinks, but that makes this simpler, but there are a lot of really good cards that you can mill, such as your Scarm for a follow-up, Water Enchantress to get to your adventure plays, Snow. There's so many good things that you can mill, but yeah, for the sake of this combo, we're just not going to cover those. This is just the bare bones, like, you got nothing else. So what you do from here is you link away your Dante, which again is in the extra monster zone, summon it there, and you link it away into a gravity controller. This will trigger your Graffs and your Dante's effect. If you had Seer, it would trigger Seer Dante, but Graff Dante is like effectively the same thing. And so Graff, and if you want to chain block, you make Dante chain link too, by the way. So that way you're not getting your Graff ashed. But Dante can add back any of your Burning Abyss monsters. Probably safest to add back the Graff, actually. That way you just have a higher value BA in hand in case plans change. And then with your Graff, you're going to special summon Seer from deck. And then now, because you control a non-Burning Abyss monster, the Seer gets destroyed, activate Seer effect. Seer bring back Graff, or Dante. Discard the Graff in order to summon your Beatrice. So that's just a simple 2-card play that gets you to your Beatrice, giving you some kind of disruption, as well as pretty decent follow-up, because Dante's going to add back something else to your hand, and Beatrice potentially can trigger if it gets destroyed, summon out another BA from your extra deck, and then kind of keep going from there. Now once again, if you're going second, and now you've got us 2 BAs, like again, let's say you used Forbidden Droplets and negated your opponent's entire board, you want to make a more aggressive play. And so what you can do in that type of scenario is, once again, special summon your BAs, but instead of going into a Dante, you could also link these away into a Anaconda, and then just go into DPE. But if you want to make an even better play than that still gets you to DPE, instead you can go Cherubini. Use Cherubini's effect to dump Graff. Graff can summon out a copy of Scarm, if I can find the Scarm. And then now from here you can just link away the Cherubini and the Scarm and the Anaconda. And that way you're going to get a Scarm search in the end phase, helping you follow up on your next turn. And then Anaconda can summon DPE, and this easily can clear with probably 2 of your opponent's monsters, because you can very likely just attack over 1, pop another one, then your opponent's turn, have the DPE for disruption. So that's a very simple play that you can make, but also with just 2 monsters, you could also just go into like into a Boral Sword and potentially OTK your opponent depending on what their life is at and what's on their board. Or you can even make an Appaloosa play using just 2 monsters, 2 random Burning Abyss monsters. So in that case, what you could do is special summon your 2 BAs, then again go into the Cherubini, but instead of sending Graff, you could also instead just dump a Water Enchantress, banish the Water Enchantress, search Rite. Rite can get you to the token, Gyrphon, and then Fateful Adventure. Of course, you're going to have to discard. I'm skipping a couple steps here because I'm assuming we all know what like these cards do by now. But from here, what you can do is link the token into a link spider, and then link all 3 of these into a copy of Boral Sword. So let's say your opponent had like a couple of attack position monsters. You could very easily like attack into something, change their attack monster to defense, attack something else, and then just have this beefy big monster on board. And potentially it can just be game as well, depending on what their life is at. And so if they did an Anaconda play and they've got some attack monsters, sometimes you just OTK like this. And then of course the best 2-card combo going second, like the best play you can make is you summon your 2 BAs, you overlay them for like, let's say Break Sword, you attack into your opponent's monster, and then in your main phase 2, you go Downerd and then Zeus, and now you've got Zeus with 4 materials, so you got 2 Zeus effects. And so you just wipe the board twice, or once on your turn, and then disrupt your opponent with it on the next turn, and you win like that pretty much. Because of course, the next card in your hand is Tour Guide, so you summon Tour Guide and then that's also game. But that's it for the combos. Now let's go ahead and move into a couple of test hands. Alright guys, so while I'm shuffling the deck, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you do want to see more content. Make sure to click that bell too, that way you're being notified of every video being posted. If you just want to see more content overall, also check out my Instagram at TopTierYugioh where I post pretty much daily, both TCG and Master Duel content, so definitely check that out if you're interested in either of those. But let's go ahead and get into the first hand. Alright, so moving into the first hand, we're going to be having our Fusion Destiny, Graff, Alec, Snow, and then Skarm. Alright, so looking at this hand, we have a lot of plays that we can make. I mean, we pretty much have 4 cards that are actively playable, and then we have another one that's a great discard off of the Fateful Adventure. I think this pretty much guides how we want to make this play. And so I think we want to start by normal summoning Graff, special summoning the Alec, and then link both of these away into Cherubini. Now this triggers our Graff effect. Graff can summon out Seer. And then again, you want to summon that linked to the Cherubini, that way it doesn't destroy itself. Let's see, maybe make sure everything is on camera still. But now from here, we can special summon our Skarm. It does stink to have to normal or special summon the Skarm. However, it's very nice to just have an extender, to be honest. So we special Skarm, and then we overlay both of those into a Dante. Now from here, we activate Cherubini's effect. And of course, we are playing it into Nib a little bit, by the way. Obviously, we've summoned a bunch of times at this point, so we could get nibbed. But if we do get nibbed, then all we do is just use Seer Dante and then make Beatrice. So we're absolutely fine if we get nibbed. We also have the Fusion Destiny. So this is the type of play where you don't necessarily have to play around it. You don't have to lead with your adventure plays, because you have that leeway not to. But from here, look, I mean, we do want to Omni Negate, so let's go ahead and set up the Gyrphon. So with the Cherubini effect, we're going to dump a Water Enchantress to the graveyard, and then banish that to search our copy of Rite. So add Rite to hand, activate the Rite, and then Rite will get us to token. It will also allow us to play our Fateful Adventure from the deck. And I'm just going to go ahead and search the Gryphon Rider now. We're going to get to it eventually. There we go. So, Fateful Adventure. Sorry, things are getting a little crazy on screen here, but you guys know what I'm doing. So we have, let's see, Adventure on board. We'd be using the effect to search Gryphon. And with that, we discard the Snow. So we have Fusion Destiny Gryphon in hand. Summon out the Gryphon. That gives us our Omni Negate. And then from here, we could link away the Dante and the Cherubini into something else, and that way we can end up on our Beatrice. But I think what we might want to do instead, we could link these. Yeah, I guess this is the play. Could go into an Appaloosa, and then Dante Seer, and then of course make our Beatrice here. So whatever we add back, we just discard for the Beatrice. And now from here, we can just activate our Fusion Destiny, and then use that to send our materials, our Dasher, and our Celestial. Send those to the graveyard to make DPE. And so this gives us Beatrice, DPE, Appaloosa. So what I think we maybe could have done better was instead of comboing with the Scarm as well, we could have just comboed without the Scarm, holding it in hand, and then used the Scarm to make Beatrice. That way we're getting the Scarm search during the in phase, instead of special summoning the Scarm earlier, and then not getting that search in the tour guide, because we don't necessarily need this token right now. Like, this is just extra material that could instead be a search to our hand. And so, once again, you got to play this deck optimally, because if, let's say, our board gets broken, having that follow-up could be the difference between winning and losing this game. And so, I made the mistake in this video. Don't make the mistake yourself. But let's go ahead and move into the next hand. Alright, so moving into hand number 2, let's see what we draw here. We've got Snow once again, Snow, Graff, Rubik, Scarm, and Libic. This is pretty much the same hand, so I'm just gonna mulligan this hand a little bit. It's the same hand except for Fusion Destiny, which is kind of boring. Let's just draw a whole new hand. So we've got double Graff, Celestial, Scarm, and Rite. And again, this hand also is similar. You'll see with this deck, because we have so many BA monsters, a lot of the hands do play out similarly. And so what we want to do with this hand is pretty much the same. We want to start by summoning Graff, special summon the Scarm. We want to special summon the Scarm because we have no other option, pretty much. So we don't want to special summon Graff because in this case we want to use Graff's effect. So we will link both of these away into a copy of Cherubini, and that's going to trigger our Graff's effect, and then Graff will be summoning out Seer. And we have a couple of options here, because we already have Seer without using our Cherubini's effect. We also don't need to use Cherubini to get to our adventure package because we drew the Rite. And so now it's really up to us what we want to use Cherubini for. So we could use Cherubini to dump another Water Enchantress to set up for next turn. But I think that is actually the play. But I think what we do, let's go ahead and do that first. What I think we do for our main play is I think we just activate our Rite here, and we use Rite to get to the token. This will also get to Fateful Adventure. Then we activate Fateful Adventure. That's going to get us to our Gyrphon. And then we just go into a DPE play from here. Because the problem with this hand is we have to discard for the adventure, but also we have Celestial in our hand. So we'll discard this for adventure, by the way. But we also have the Celestial in our hand, and because of that, it takes away from what we can do, and so instead of using that last card to extend or for defense, we don't have that luxury with this hand. And so what we could do instead from here is just link both of these away into our Anaconda, and then use Anaconda to summon out DPE. So let's see, first we'll dump the cost, then the materials, and then that gets us to our DPE. And so this is definitely not the best hand, but it does give us 2 disruptions, and we're gonna have pretty good follow-up. Alright, so for this test hand, we've got Rite, Droplet, Scarm, Graff, and then Tour Guide. So Tour Guide's a pretty cool play that we could just use to get started. However, we can't use the Tour Guide on the same turn that we use Rite. And so we have to make a choice here on what's more important. And I think that's going to depend on the matchup and your opponent. But sometimes you can get the read on whether your opponent has the hand trap, and if not, Tour Guide's a pretty good play. If you think they might, or you're not 100% sure, then Rite's probably better to go with. And so what we can do in this hand is, the safe play would be to play around the hand trap, but we can't start with Rite because it locks us out of BAs. So instead we have to start with normal summon Graff, special summon Scarm, overlay both of these into your copy of Cherubini once again. And also we could have just done like a we also could have just done like a Beatrice and then go in the Rite play. That also would work, but I think Cherubini sets you up a little bit better. And so with this setup, you pretty much have the option of going into any 2 disruptions, being like any 2 of Appaloosa, DPE, and or Beatrice. Any 2 of those would work. And let's say, for the sake of example, I mean, I guess we've seen all of them at this point, but let's do Appaloosa DPE. Why not? Because we still have the tour guide for more engine on our next turn anyways, and so we don't necessarily have to go into the Beatrice. And so once again, we're going to trigger our Graff's effect because we linked it away, and then Graff gets us to our copy of Seer. Now from here we can activate Rite, and then Rite is going to get us to token. It's also going to search our Fateful Adventure. Fateful Adventure is going to search our Gyrphon, and then we're going to discard the droplets because it's not an amazing going first card. So discard the droplets. Now from here we can just special summon our Gyrphon. And now we can link away the Gyrphon, Cherubini, and the Seer into an Appaloosa. Next we link away the token into Link Spider. Oh, and silly me, Seer effect revived the Cherubini before all of this. And then you link both of these into the Anaconda. Anaconda will do its thing, summon your DPE, and then you would end with the Appaloosa DPE, and then next turn you've got the tour guide for follow-up. So again, a pretty standard hand in you with a solid board. A lot of decks cannot play through Appaloosa DPE. And then in your next turn you would draw like another card plus have Celestial on top of that too. So let's just say you draw, okay, not that. But let's say you draw like a Farfa. What you could do is make plays with this tour guide Farfa, and then draw 2 more cards, maybe another droplets and Enchantress. You're gonna have plays next turn. It's just gonna be a matter of using your Appaloosa and your DPE to survive until then. You likely will be able to just OTK because DPE plus tour guide's usually game because tour guide can get you to a Boral Sword, and DPE Boral Sword is game. And so we had a pretty solid hand there as well. Skarm, Celestial, Fateful, Libic, and Water Enchantress. So this is clearly not the best hand because we have 2 of our bricks right here, but we do have 2 of our monsters that we do want. We have 2 BAs, one of which being Skarm, and then we have Water Enchantress. And so this is not horrible. I mean, it's not good either, but what we could do with this hand is just normal summon Skarm because we do want to get Skarm effect, special summon the Libic, and then link both of these into your copy of Cherubini, which again is like in every single combo in this deck. And then with your Cherubini, you want to, you don't have to activate the effect yet. You can also just use Water Enchantress and do all of that. So discard Water Enchantress, or banish Water Enchantress. Use that to search our copy of Rite, activate Rite. Rite will get us to the token. And the tricky thing here is just having the discard because we have Fateful in hand. We don't want to discard Celestial because that means we can't get DPE. And so we really don't have anything to discard for Gyrphon. That's probably the biggest downside of this hand. So what we can do instead is just make plays without that, without using any of those, because we at least have a token up on board that can be an extra free material. And so what we can do is use Cherubini's effect. Whoops. Oh, well, that's actually what I was going to dump. Dump the Graff, and then Graff can summon Seer. If we play Draco back, we could search Draco back here and then use Draco back to discard for Fateful Adventure and then get the Gyrphon like that. But I am not playing Draco back in this deck, so kind of SOL here. But then from this point, what you could do is link this into a Link Spider, and then we could link both of these into Anaconda, or link these into Anaconda. But I think it'd probably be better to keep the Cherubini on board. That way, if it survives, you've got some type of follow-up. Or if you're okay with losing your access to DPE forever, instead of making that play, we could just go ahead and activate the adventure, use the effect to search Water Enchantress, and then discard the Celestial. Special summon the Enchantress, overlay for your copy of, let's see, where is it? Dante. And again, you could use the effect. In this situation, I probably would not use the effect because you already have Skarm going. There's not much else you want to hit in the grave outside of Snow, and you don't want to use Dante effect for just Snow. Like, let's see what we get here. we'll look at here just for the sake of this example and see if it's useful. But we would hit Dasher, fine, Alec, and Droplets. So this does literally nothing. But what we would do from here is still link this into the link spider. Tokens don't go to graveyard. And then we link all of these into Appaloosa. And then Dante Seer shenanigans, Appaloosa, Beatrice. And so even with that subpar hand where we opened up relatively poorly 2 of our bricks, we're still able to end on Appaloosa Beatrice. And then, of course, because we use Scarm, during the end phase, we'd be able to search a tour guide. And so we've got 3 negates, Beatrice Sin, follow-up tour guide. In a lot of cases, this could just be game. So even when this deck opens up pretty badly, you're gonna always have a play. Awesome, and so that is it for this combo and test hand video. If you guys want to see the deck profile, once again, check out this video right here on the screen. It's going to show you every single card in this deck with a detailed breakdown of why we're playing it, and some potential changes that could be made as well. Now, if you're not interested in Burning Abyss, I don't know what kept you here so long, but check out this list of other decks that I think would be fun and exciting to play in this current format. All of these decks will be featured on the channel at some point or another. Check this out as well. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.